Jesus! Dropped it. Did you see that? My God. That was a beast on the Drunken mullet. Well, the first thing I'm going to throw on this morning is this brand new Drunken mullet from Chasebaits. Did you see that? My God. Oh! That style of retrieve where it's just a straight retrieve, what this has got in front of that is the little body wobble that's very realistic, like a bait fish swimming. Fizzing on the way out, you're definitely a chance of a fish chasing it. Jack will still come out and hit it, which won't happen if you've got a popper. If you've got a popper, probably your best bet is just to fish that first 1.5 meters. I've been waiting ever since I saw these things at AFTA last year to throw these around. They look just like a potty mullet, and with a big prop tail on the back, let me show you. They are going to create plenty of disturbance. They're segmented like a jointed body. You can see that there, and then that big offset prop that's like unbalanced, deliberately made like that, so it really throws out an awkward bubble trail behind and a noise there. Let's go and see how she works. Can't wait to try this thing. Brim. I saw him come up. Oh, again. That's Jack right there. It's a little baby Jack. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, he pulled it under. That was a brim. That was the third time. Second one was a little Jack. Let's see if I can send him again. Just didn't grab the hooks and get hooked properly. You might have grabbed the back, like the bend of the hook. See how I'm working it, just short stabs and then a real stall, and then it sits there. Just give you a look at this thing. This is what I'm fishing with. It's a Drunken mullet from Chasebaits. It's a segmented, like a jointed body with that awkwardly weighted back prop. Looks just like a potty mullet, and they cast really, really well. They're really true with the cast. Quite heavy, they're nearly 20 grams, and I think really as a target species, probably mangrove jack, barra, they're going to get lots of trevs as well, but that back prop just gets going. You can see it fizzing there, and it gets going without a lot of pull, so you can work this thing really slowly and it's going to keep moving. That prop's going to keep pumping as you're dragging it through the water. It just imitates an injured mullet. I don't think this, like the segmented side of the lure, it doesn't really have too much of an action on it. It's very subtle. It just gets a tight wobble as you're bringing it through with just a straight retrieve. As it's fizzing, the whole body of it's just shuddering through the water, but it doesn't really glide like I thought it might, because the prop pulls it back and pulls it into line. So you don't get as much action out of that segmented body as maybe I'd hope for, but what you do get is a lure that's like the prop just holds it right in position and it doesn't move very far from the snag when you're working it. Like a lot of prop baits, it tends to have a body roll on it when you're fishing it. So when you drag it under, it kind of rolls off to the side and then corrects itself a little bit. And because of that offset prop, oh, there's one there, that's a jack. It's just taking it on those long stalls. Because of the offset prop, it can sometimes sit funny and just sit off to the side, which for me, I like something that sits very true and like that. But the good thing about it is the finish on it. Let me just show you the finish on it. If you have a look at the profile on it, just like a mullet, these little side fins that are soft and the prop is soft, so your hooks, they can catch it, but they don't get hooked, they just fall straight off. A lot of these prop baits, you can get caught up on the prop with the hooks because they're really hard if they're made out of metal or a hard plastic. These are really well designed like that, with a soft plastic that bends and allows the hooks to fall off. But what I do like is take a look at the profile from the underside and the prominence of those eyes. So when it is sitting there at rest, I reckon it is a really realistic presentation. The fact that it rolls and sits on the side, I don't like that as much, but it's really floaty, and at rest you can just mess with the line and get it to bounce and bobble around like a little potty mullet, like they do when they're sucking air. I don't know if you can see that from here, but I'm just working the line. I'm not moving the lure anywhere at all, and it's just bobbing, which Jackson Barra, they love that. And that's why I'm getting brim come up as well, which this is a 95 millimeter lure. For a brim to be coming up at it, that's actually a really good sign that the jacks are going to have no hesitation. So you can hear that deep fizz. It's different to a bloop that you'll get from, you know, a popper and a big cupped face. And if you're used to fishing pencils, it's a little bit like fishing a pencil, like a sugar pen or something. But it's got that extra bit of fizz and that action. And then on a really slow retrieve, its tail just kicks water over the top of it, which I really like. I think it's great. And it's going to account for a lot of fish, even giant herring and tarpon and things like that. It's going to account for those, and bass and that. In comparison to other fizzes that have that metal blade, the metal is a lot louder, so it's a little bit more subtle than that. So in conditions like this where it's just dead calm, not a lot of movement, if you're after that more subtle presentation to not be spooking fish but enough to call them out, this is probably worth throwing around, I reckon. Definitely in and around mangrove sections where it's shallow coming off a bank like this, where you're still a chance as you burn this thing out and it's fizzing on the way out, you're definitely a chance of a fish chasing it down and hitting it on the way back to the boat with that propeller going nuts. Trevally and things like that, they're going to love it. There aren't a lot of prop baits out that have got a realistic profile like this potty style. So in that regard, it's definitely unique. The segmented body, as I'm using it, it gets a little bit of movement off to the side, like a glide bait, but it's nothing really like I thought might happen. I thought it was really going to shunt it off to the side, and that would have been a big appeal for me to have a prop bait that can also glide like that a little bit. But the prop on the back is so big that that's really the kicker for it. Is the action you get with the prop, not the segmented body and the glide on it. And they cast really well. Like straight away, as soon as I started throwing this thing, I was like, well, it's going to be easy for people to start fishing with. It's not something that you really need to get used to all that much. And then the other retrieve that's really effective, especially on bass during summer, is just a straight retrieve, and that's what the Whopper Plopper's been used for in the States. Really effectively used. It's now like probably the best surface lure. A lot of guys say that, you know, it's a favourite one to use in the States for those big bass. And that style of retrieve where it's just a straight retrieve, what this has got in front of that is the little body wobble that's very realistic, like a bait fish swimming. If you see a fleeing bait fish, they kind of have a kick and an action to their body as well. Especially mullet, small mullet, you'll see their little shudder, and it's got that with that jointed body. So hopefully you can pick that up in the imagery, like the video footage that I've captured with this thing swimming. and that's a retrieve that you'd probably use more so for, I'd say, trevally and bass. Not as much for a mangrove jack or a barra, because you want the thing stuck in around that structure. But that's it. It's the Chasebaits Drunken Mullet.